Good morning, friends. Welcome to another story time. It is Friday, April 10th, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm doing story time from one part in my makeshift classroom, and I wanted you to see the closet behind me is full of letters I have gotten from my friends, and they put a smile on my face. I love, love, love them. So, I know it was an assignment last week to write a letter, and I know Teacher Dan got a lot of letters. And do you know what Teacher Dan told me? He said it felt like Christmas when he kept getting letters in the mail, and he got to open them, and he loved them. So, it was an assignment, and you guys did a great job. But of course, if you want to write us more letters, we will write a letter back to you every time that we get one. So, I sent a letter back to everybody who mailed me one, and then I also put some extra ones in the mail for friends who sent one to Teacher Dan. So everybody keep an eye out in their mailbox. There will be some letters coming soon. But know that the letters you wrote me bring me so much joy every day that I'm in here teaching, giving videos for you guys, and helping teach Kara and Annie, my two kiddos, the rest of their school year. So I love them. Thank you, thank you. All right, I have a funny story for you guys today. And let me see here. Okay, there we go. This story is called Amelia Bedelia. Has anybody ever heard of Amelia Bedelia books before? If you haven't, you're about ready to get a good surprise and a good treat because Amelia Bedelia always does some really funny things. So get ready for this great book. This at the top says, I can read. This is a reading level 2. So there's a lot of my friends in our classes who could read these kind of books. So if you find books like this, or you're looking for some books to buy, a book with a 1 on it would be a good level for some friends, but listen to this book for a level 2, and you could figure out which a level might be good for you to read, or mom and dad could always email me and I can give them some ideas too. All right, Amelia Bedelia. Oh, Amelia Bedelia, your first day of work, and I can't be here. But I made a list for you. You do just what the list said, says Mrs. Rogers. Mr. Rogers got into the car with Mr. Rogers, and they drove away. My, what nice folks! I'm going to like working here, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went inside. Such a grand house. These must be rich folks, but I must get to work. Here I stand just looking, and me with a whole list of things to do. Amelia Bedelia stood there a minute longer. I think I'll make a surprise for them. I'll make lemon meringue pie. I do make good pies. So Amelia Bedelia went into the kitchen. She put a little of this and a pinch of that into a bowl. She mixed and she rolled. Soon her pie was ready to go into the oven. There, said Amelia Bedelia, that's done. Now let's see what this list says. Amelia Bedelia read, change the towels in the green bathroom. Amelia Bedelia found the green bathroom. Well, those towels are very nice. Why should I change them, she thought. Then Amelia Bedelia remembered what Mrs. Rogers had said. She must do just what the list told her. Well, all right, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia got some scissors. She snipped a little here and a little there, and she changed those towels. There, said Amelia Bedelia. She looked at her list again. Dust the furniture. Well, did you ever hear tell of such a silly thing? At my house, we undust the furniture. But to each his own way. Amelia Bedelia took one last look at the bathroom.
she saw a big box with the words dusting powder on it. All right, kindergarten friends, what does it mean when you dust? Does that mean that you take the dust away or you add dust? Usually you take the dust away, but look. Well, look at that! A special powder to dust with, exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. So Amelia Bedelia dusted the furniture. That should be dusty enough. Oh, how nice it smells. Look at the furniture now, friends. Draw the drapes when the sun comes in, read Amelia Bedelia. She looked up. The sun was coming in. Amelia Bedelia looked at the list again. Draw the drapes? Well, that's what it says. I'm not much of a hand at drawing, but I'll try. Do my friends know what when somebody says draw the drapes? That means to close them, but is that what she's doing? So Amelia Bedelia sat right down and she drew those drapes. Amelia Bedelia marked off the drapes. Now what? Put the lights out when you finish in the living room. What does it mean to put the lights out, do you think, friends? Yeah, turn the lights off, right? Put the lights out, turn the lights off. But Amelia Bedelia thought about this a minute. She switched off the lights and then she carefully unscrewed every light bulb. And Amelia Bedelia put the lights out. So those things need to be aired out too, just like pillows and babies. Oh, I do have a lot to learn. My pie! Exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. So she hurried to the kitchen. Just right, she said. She took the pie out of the oven and put it on the table to cool. Then she looked at the list. Measure 2 cups of rice. That's next, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia found 2 cups, and she filled them with rice. And Amelia Bedelia measured that rice. Amelia Bedelia laughed. These folks do want me to do funny things. And she poured the rice back into the container. I think Amelia Bedelia was supposed to measure 2 cups of rice, like in a measuring cup. The meat market will deliver a steak and a chicken. Please trim the fat before you put the steak in the ice box. And please dress the chicken. When the meat arrived, Amelia Bedelia opened the bag. She looked at the steak for a long time. Yes, she said, that will do nicely. Amelia Bedelia got some lace and bits of ribbon, and Amelia Bedelia trimmed that fat before she put the steak in the ice box. Now I must dress the chicken. I wonder if she wants a he chicken or a she chicken, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went right to work. Soon the chicken was finished. Amelia Bedelia heard the door open. The folks are back, she said. She rushed to meet them. Amelia Bedelia, why are all the light bulbs outside? Asked Mr. Rogers. The list just said to put the lights out, said Amelia Bedelia. It didn't say to bring them back in. Oh, I do hope they didn't get aired out too long. Amelia Bedelia, the sun will fade the furniture. I asked you to draw the drapes, said Mrs. Rogers. I did, see, said Amelia Bedelia. And she held up her picture. Then Mrs. Rogers saw the furniture. The furniture! She cried. Did I dust it well enough? Asked Amelia Bedelia. That's such nice dusting powder. Mr. Rogers went to wash his hands. I say, he called, these are very unusual towels. Mrs. Rogers dashed into the bathroom. Oh, my best towels, she said. Didn't I change them enough? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Mrs. Rogers went to the kitchen. I'll cook the dinner. Where is the rice I asked you to measure? I put it back in the container. But I remember it measured 4.5 inches, said Amelia Bedelia. Was the meat delivered? Asked Mrs. Rogers. Yes, said Amelia Bedelia. I trimmed the fat just like you said. It does look nice. Mrs. Rogers rushed into the icebox. She opened it. Lace? Ribbons? Oh dear, said Mrs. Rogers. The chicken. You dressed the chicken, right? Asked Mrs. Rogers. Yes, and I found the nicest box to put him in, said Amelia Bedelia. Box! Exclaimed Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers hurried over to the box. She lifted the lid. There lay the chicken, and he was just as dressed as he could be. Mrs. Rogers was angry. She was very angry. She opened her mouth. Mrs. Rogers meant to tell Amelia Bedelia that she was fired. But before she could get the words out, Mr. Rogers put something in her mouth. It was so good, Mrs. Rogers forgot about being angry. Lemon meringue pie, she exclaimed. I made it to surprise you, said Amelia Bedelia happily. So right then and there, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers decided that Amelia Bedelia must stay. And so she did. Mrs. Rogers learned to say, undust the furniture, unlight the lights, close the drapes, and things like that. Mr. Rogers, well, he didn't care if Amelia Bedelia trimmed all of his steaks with lace. All he cared about was having her there to make lemon meringue pie. So that is the story of Amelia Bedelia. There are a ton of Amelia Bedelia books out there if you enjoyed that story. Have a great weekend, friends. I will see you Monday.